Hello, welcome to Democracy Today on Africa Independent Television. Glad you could join us tonight. I am Osaiti Yari. Ebonyi State has found itself in the spotlight in recent months. Its governor, Dave Umahi, made the move from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress, putting to rest several months of speculation. Ebonyi has also had its share of the worsening security situation being witnessed across the country, with Governor Umahi challenging the security agencies to step up to the challenge as well as defend themselves, security facilities, and the state from attacks. In spite of challenges associated with the times, such as insecurity and economic downturn as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Umahi has attracted praise from some observers for his commitment towards infrastructure development and a deliberate policy to improve the look of the state. In fact, some say Governor Umahi has outperformed his predecessors with a focus on human capital development, health education, agriculture, and other key developmental projects. Umahi is said to have deployed his dispute resolution skills in a bid to resolve the communal clashes arising from land ownership squabbles. Other observers have taken the governor to task over what they believe is his failure to improve the life and well-being of the residents. Amongst other things, they accuse the government of focusing on roads and flyover construction when the state, in fact, has one of the highest rates of unemployment in the nation. In a few minutes, we will join the Ebonyi State Commissioner for Information, Umahi, to review the issues and developments. But first, let's bring you some trending reports. The Nigerian Correctional Service has released the names and pictures of inmates who escaped from custody during the attack of the Owerri Custodial Center in Imo State. Though the federal government had earlier in the week promised to grant amnesty to inmates who voluntarily returned, so far only 48 escapees have returned. Recall that on Monday, 5th April 2021, at about 2:15 a.m., some unknown gunmen stormed the facility and gained entrance into the yard by using explosives to blast the administrative block and forcefully release a total number of 1,844 inmates in custody. The National Association of Resident Doctors has continued the strike, calling for improved welfare amongst other demands, despite several hours of meeting with the Labour and Employment Minister, Chris Ngige. The latest is that the federal government has succeeded in setting up a 5-man committee expected to smoothen out the payment of resident doctors by removing the irregularities encountered in the process. Ngige said the committee, which is an addendum to the Memorandum of Action reached between both parties on March 31, 2021, is part of ongoing efforts to resolve the dispute between government and the resident doctors. Ngige hopes that this and other understandings reached, the resident doctors would give the conciliation process a chance by calling off the strike, which began on April 1st, 2021. Time now for our conversation. Our focus is on the developmental strides of Governor Umahi-led administration in Ebonyi State. We have in the studio Umahi, the Commissioner for Information, who will join him after this short break.
ART News, providing a strong, engaging voice for African enterprise and Black contributions to global development, putting the people first.
All right, thank you for staying with us. It's Democracy Today, and we begin our conversation immediately. I have the pleasure to introduce to you Umahi, is the Commissioner for Information in the Ebonyi State. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's begin immediately. And as you know, this is a political program, so of course we will start with issues of politics. And you know, it was once upon a time it was described as the Governor Umahi-led PDP administration. But today it is now the Governor Umahi-led APC administration. So tell us, how has your principal and the executive, which you belong, fared since making that move about 5 months ago?
It has been a move that has given us an impetus to really have a fair share of the democratic dividends of our nation, the APC-led federal government. I can say that when we were in PDP, as it were, my governor in his style of politics believes in all-inclusive politics and relating with all persons, all governments to ensure that he makes a progress. So we didn't miss quite a lot where we were in PDP. But I can tell you that an impetus was garnered at the time we entered APC. And so we have the opportunity of sharing in the various programs of the federal government without any hindrance on political coloration. And I can say that we are moving forward. The future is bright in our developmental pace. We are participating in all empowerment programs of the federal government. Government has from time to time, that is federal government, giving us grants and even facilities to ensure that we further give our people the much needed democracy dividend. And I thank God for that bold decision of our governor. The governor made that decision clearly for one singular reason, that we may, as a people from Southeast, mainstream with a party at a national level, which has been the political culture of Southeast over the years, both pre, post, independence, democracy. And I can tell you that it is going to help us a lot in our political mainstreaming and other issues that surround it.
All right, so in terms of the state, the party at the state level, how has it been managing? Have you been able to bring all the interests together to ensure that there is no rancor within the state?
Yeah, that is his style of politics, ensuring inclusive politics. Once there is election and after the election comes governance that goes beyond political leaning. And given the merger between the former PDP and the former APC, we are together enjoying in APC. I can say that it has done a lot to resolve issues with former APC or the political differences amongst the stakeholders. And that has really made the APC in the state to be very strong and very viral. I can say that, as it were, the governor has ensured that even those that were in the former APC, as it were, are included in appointments, in other empowerment programs. And of course, everybody's settled to work under one leadership, and that is the leadership of our dear governor, His Excellency Engineer Chief David Umahi, the APC governor of Ebonyi State.
All right, since it's your job to promote your government, it's my job to take you and hold you to task about that. And you recall that when we began the program, I made it clear that some people have, of course, praised the administration which you represent of performing well, while many others have said, no, this government has focused on the wrong things. How do you respond to some of those before we begin to break it down?
It is foolhardy, absolutely, for somebody who does birth to think that infrastructure is not part of development. For the governor, he believes that infrastructure and human empowerment are the twin pillars of development that must be carried on simultaneously and equally to ensure that the people's lives are bettered. Come to talk of it, apart from the infrastructure that the governor has fixed beyond successive governments, the governor has ensured that our people are empowered. If you look at the current MBS record about the job creation index and empowerment index, it does favor Ebonyi State. Ebonyi is coming second in the states of Southeast. What are the parameters, the indices, the yardstick? One is the fact that Ebonyi is a construction site. Who are involved in this construction site? Both is semi-skilled, non-skilled, and skilled labor. Indigenous or non-indigenous who are resident in Ebonyi State. We don't have issues of capital flight because even the issue of flyovers that we are doing that makes Ebonyi next after Abuja and Lagos, we are using in local content. That has really made everybody to be busy today, but it's a construction site. And I tell you that we are doing a lot to raise the capacity through establishment of vocational education to really harvest the young brains in the area of the artisans, the technicians, even those in vocational programs, even those in entrepreneurship. What did government do? Government had to really establish vocational college. That vocational college is aimed at giving certification to all of these categories of people to enhance their capacity. Thereafter, government will give them financial empowerment. Do I go ahead to tell you the numerous empowerment government has given before we were known for hawking? Governor did a lot to reduce that idea of hawking, which is not a good thing. What did government do? Government had to introduce what is called street to skill empowerment program, which we first launched in Lagos, the commercial hub of Nigeria. And over 520 number of people were given empowerment. I think a total of 130 million given to them. Today we have less number of Ebonians in the city of Lagos doing hawking. And I can also say that even our widows, who are the poorest of the poor widows, we had a program that is called Widow Empowerment Program. We gave them 400,300,000 to go into numerous, businesses, that will enhance their means of livelihood and make them to fend for their families. I can also tell you that we have done all of these things even for the civil servants, where we raised 4 billion to give them as a facility. We are drawing between 200,000 and 1 million, as the case may be, depending on the year they are going to leave service or their age, in service. And so we have done a lot to empower the people.
All right,
now,
so while you reel out some of these figures you mentioned now, the question remains that why has this impact not been felt? And I'll take you up because you mentioned the MBS report. And that same MBS report you quoted also says that Ebonyi has 40% unemployment and about 20% underemployed. That's underemployment as well. So if you are putting all these, call them laudable programs in place, why is there no dent? Why is there no dent being felt in those figures?
Economic development indices are very gradual. They don't come so automatically. It is assessed over a period of time, looking at where we are coming from and where we are going to. In 2015, we were not to be found in a map of developed states, or even developing states, as it were. But the governor came and gave us environment. What next did he do? He decided to create long-lasting facilities that will provide or trigger economic development. One of them is the creation of Africa's biggest shopping mall, the biggest in Africa ever built by any government. And it's going to trigger a lot of employment and job creation and wealth creation. I think about 5,000 number shops, modern shops. And I also can tell you that we have an international market that is the biggest in the Southeast, the most beautiful in Nigeria. And this is going to have more than 3,000 number shops. Who are going to be there? Indigenous to do their business. Government is not a good businessman. The objective of government is to provide not only security, not only safety to the people, but also to give them environment that will make them have unfettered access to facilities in order for them to be self-reliant, self-sufficient. And that is the way to go. I can tell you that with the construction of one of Nigeria's biggest airport that is ongoing, moving progressively, geometrically, as it were, I can say that will trigger also employment, job creation. With Africa's biggest college of medicine, you need to see it on the screen. You will know that it is going to trigger a lot of employment and empowerment. Who are going to benefit this? Our people will benefit that. And I can tell you that it's going to house no less than 10,000 number of jobs with all the ancillary business activities going on. We have a federal government facility that is being constructed in Ebonyi State, and that is the referral, hospital referral center, military hospital referral center, and that is going to also attract jobs. And these are the creations that will make for job creation, wealth creation. So we are going there. We know where we are going.
So you know that I was actually expecting that at some point you will come to talk about the St. Margaret Umahi International Market, also the mall which you are building as well, called the biggest, which you have titled the biggest mall in Africa, as well as that airport. And so I was also prepared for you when you come to that level, because reports say clearly, reports from institutions within our nation, and I'm referring to FAN in this case, has said, look, there are only 2 airports in Nigeria that are viable, and that's Lagos and Abuja. Now, the question to you is, why are you building another airport, right, which you hope to complete by the end of 2022? Why are you building that when just 1 hour away from you, there's the Akano Ibiam in Enugu?
Our idea is that we could have a choice in air business and in air transportation. That if you are coming from any part of the world that you would like to say, apart from Abuja and Lagos, the next place I should land is in Ebonyi State, as it were. That is the dream and the vision we have. And we are looking at the Ethiopian airline to tap in their business initiatives. That idea means that if Lagos doesn't take time, if Abuja doesn't take time, we talk over the concentration of traffic of air business. And that is the way to go. When there is airport, it does trigger employment. Is it not true? It does trigger wealth creation. It does trigger a lot of even the land within the place will really enhance in its value. And that is, our idea is that we should have what we call importers and exporters who from any part of Ebonyi move to any part of the world and come straight to Ebonyi in order to have their business done. And this will trigger, influx of investors. These are things that will create job and create employment for the people. And when investors will go straight from any part of the world to Ebonyi State, it means that we are the destination for investment. And you know what it means. So that is our idea. We are not begging to have a airport, but we are saying that we want to have an airport that is going to be one of the best, one of the most attractive. And that is the way to go. All of these things will create job in the long run.
All right, and I want to take you up on the what you mentioned now, the foreign investment. And records show that between 2019 and 2020, Ebonyi is one of the states in Nigeria that didn't record a dollar in foreign investment. So what is your plan in this case to boost that foreign direct investment into your state?
Yes, apart from these facilities that will bring about investors, local, national, and foreign, we intend that we are going to tap a lot in the value chain in agriculture to see how we can participate in the value chain processes in agriculture, especially in the area of exporting our commodities in agriculture. That is why we have taken advantage or exploited our advantage in processing. Today we have a total of 32 metric ton capacity government-owned rice milling plant that is the biggest in Africa. I mean whatever I'm saying. We also have about 28 number, what is called a parboiling plant, metric ton capacity per hour parboiling plant that feeds the rice milling plant. We also have individually owned rice milling plants that makes Ebonyi or gives Ebonyi a name as a state with the highest number of rice milling clusters. These initiatives is to ensure that we participate in all the agri programs by the federal government and of course by donor agencies and development partners. And again, beside this, we are doing a lot in the area of health sector. A health sector that cannot, attract, even foreign persons from outside Nigeria, outside Africa, even parts of the world. That way, there will be issue of economic development and economic growth that will trigger a lot of issues of self-sufficiency in Ebonyi State.
All right, so one point you have made repeatedly is biggest in Africa. So why is the Ebonyi State government, which you are part of, not focused in terms of industry? Maybe instead of some of these, I read somewhere the big glass agriculture exhibition center. So why are we not focusing in terms of industries? Because you have mineral resources, and this thing can help lift your population out of poverty.
We actually have a blueprint on development of industry in Ebonyi State. And one is that we must create environment, create access road that we go to the nooks and crannies of the state. That we have actualized. Our next idea is that government is not a good businessman. What do? We need to partner with foreign investors to see how we can, through what is called a special purpose vehicle and other partnership arrangements, have investors come to Ebonyi State and invest in industry to make for industrialization. We think that private sector participation in the development of industry in Ebonyi State is the way to go, because experience has shown that government doesn't do it well, especially because of issues of successive governments. However, we have made legislations that will ensure permanence of investment in Ebonyi State without any hindrance or any encumbrance by successive government. So we have made law to make it impossible for successive government to really stop any investment in Ebonyi State. And that is going to really encourage our investors. Of course, we have given tax holiday. We have also made sure that we develop our economic system such that there is ease of ease of doing business, in Ebonyi State. And of course, we have an e-procurement process that is very, very simple, such that investors will not have it difficult, participating in business in Ebonyi State.
All right, let's talk about ease of doing business, which you have mentioned now. And I'd like you to explain to Nigerians watching you why Ebonyi State, over the last 6 years, at least part of 5 of which Dave Umahi has been in the saddle, has your IGR, the internal generated revenue, has continually dipped over the last 6 years. And right now, as of 2019, it was at 7.46 billion naira. So what's happening?
You aren't totally correct. In 2015, we had somewhat a IGR base that is actually very minimal, comparatively speaking. But when the governor came, he introduced a lot of initiative to close up leakages, to ensure that this IGR, or this internally generated revenue, come into government coffers. And that has really lifted, though a gradual process. It's more of an arithmetic progression than geometric progression. Sometimes because of issues like issues of COVID-19, issues of NSAS and other hardships that are nationally, in nature, we have dwindling case of revenue generation. But from time to time, it does jump up. But if you're talking about allocation, federal allocation, continually we have been at the lowest point of the ladder. And that is why everybody is surprised that in Ebonyi State, despite the meager resources, quite unencouraging allocation we are getting, we are able to do all of these things that we have done. Today, we have a very beautiful capital city that you need to see and appreciate, that will have the capacity and the potential to attract creative industry, entertainment industry. And that is the way to go to engage our youth and women, our graduates. Today, we have an environment, a road system that has made Ebonyi to be to have a network of roads, whereby you can get to any part of Ebonyi State within an hour. And that makes Ebonyi State today to be a global village in terms of road. And this road I'm talking about is a road that can last for 50 years, being that we are doing it by concrete pavement, making our governor the first in the history of Nigerian governance to do road construction by concrete pavement. Today, all the federal roads coming to Ebonyi State, whether from Enugu, whether from Cross River, whether from Benue State, is tarred. You can always cruise, whether from Abia State. You always cruise. You always know that you're in a different place. I tell you, we have the biggest tunnel, Africa's biggest tunnel, called President Muhammadu Buhari Light Tunnel. We call it the face of Ebonyi State. If you're sleeping and you arrive at the place, you think that you are in Dubai. And if you have a reason to go and have a photograph there, you will send to your wife or your family. They will say, where are you? Are you in London? Are you in Dubai? These are things that bring about happiness on the side of the people of Ebonyi State, that all of a sudden, today, we are lifting our heads to say that our state is a place to be, is a reference point in good governance. It is a flagship of excellence, courtesy of one man. So we celebrate him because it wouldn't have been possible without his kind of person.
Talking about your light tunnel and the roads and all of that, so I think that, except for the light tunnel, conversations I've had with other people, and they do not necessarily have a problem with the fact of the road infrastructure, which is good. But the point is, the average Ebonyi man or woman on the street is asking, is not light I will eat. I recall that at some point in Nigeria, the word stomach infrastructure became very popular. That, they call it a phrase, if you will, became very popular. And so Ebonyans, if I allow me to use that, are asking for what will go into their stomach. So react to that very quickly before we continue.
In governance systems, stomach infrastructure is a cake. That doesn't show our modern system of government. We believe in the principle that says, teach me how to fish. Don't give me fish. So stomach infrastructure is like giving somebody fish.
But that's
Having
because
said that, I have to mention
high.
that light. I am coming to that. That the essence, philosophy behind issue of having light in Ebonyi State is that it does reduce insecurity to the barest minimum, as it were. That is why in Ebonyi State, despite issues or pockets of communal clashes and all of these national problems, understandably, we don't have issues in insecurity. because we have got light in at least 20 kilometers per local government, street light non-stop for 12 hours. We have got light in all the metropolis and such like that. By the way, part of the problem in Nigeria is that of lack of power. If I can get power correct in Nigeria, I can tell you that everybody will be busy doing his business. Today in Ebonyi State, we have nightlife. Today in Ebonyi State, you can walk around in the night and nothing happens. You may not understand the implication. Today in Ebonyi State, your vehicle can move without light. You may not appreciate that until you have opposite of it. Let me tell you, light is one of the legacies of Umahi administration, that if successive administration does not continue with it, stone will be thrown on them, I tell you. And so why I'm saying this is that those infrastructure are very, very critical. I have not mentioned flyovers. I can tell you that flyovers we have now are 13 in number. And you may say, why flyover? Flyover is futuristic.
People even argue that you don't even have the population for all the flyovers you are building.
We are looking at 100 years to come if God tarries. And when investors will begin to come, when the non-indigenous will begin to come to Ebonyi State because of issue of security, because of issue of wonderful environment, there will be traffic. And we are preempting 50, 100 years to come. That is why we are doing these flyovers, that at any time investors come, whether in any part of the 3 zones of the state, they will have no issue of traffic in the time to come. If I tell you today, every vehicle going to any part of Southeast from Cross River would like to apply through a beautiful road, flyovers. Any person or vehicle flying through Benue State to any part of Southeast would like to move through Ebonyi State. What are we talking? It increases revenue generation. It also increases traffic of persons in the state, and thereby making social life in Ebonyi State to be very attractive. I can tell you that it also does attract creative industry, I have said that. So I can tell you that this is the way to go. You would have said that it's a time of little structural adjustment, like everybody must adjust for us to have environment that will attract investment, that will bring about prosperity in the land and happiness in the long run. That's the way to go.
All right. Very, very, very important to this happiness you speak of is the very serious issue and need for security. You know, just a few weeks back now, the incident that happened in Ebonyi State, and the vice president of our dear nation had to come visit to sympathize with you, and all of those things that have happened. And also, there's a growing rate of insecurity, especially around the southeast region in Nigeria. One of your neighbors there, Imo State, as well, you know, the crisis that happened just early in the week. You know, so these situations are all around you. What is the Governor Umahi strategy to deal with this? And I'm asking that specifically because he told the vice president at that meeting that the state governors are incapacitated to handle the issues of security.
Yeah, in the area of incapacitation, security belongs to the exclusive list of the Federal Republic. And so government of every state does not have a direct control or charge of the security outfits in the state. So it could be contributing to the supposedly quote that you made on the governor. But having said that, the governor, like you did say in your introductory remarks, that he brought to bear his skill of negotiation, arbitration, his skill of inclusive politics to bring all stakeholders on board, whether you belong to any political party, unless you don't want the progress of the state, to bring you on board to discuss the issue of security. What have we agreed upon? That in addition to the existing security outfits that we have, about 6, 7 of them, federal security outfits, that we should fortify our own civilian security outfit. We call it the neighborhood watch. We have over 4,000 number. But given the region issue, disturbances we have, especially communal clashes, and the herdsmen issue that came recently in Ebonyi State, government had to really further fortify our civilian outfit by raising for each community 5 number vigilante that would be like supervisors. We have about 140 number communities, so we are raising 700 number vigilante that will supervise the rest of the vigilante. Then at the metropolis level and the satellite town, we have a total of 300 number. That is 1,000 the government just raised last week to ensure that they will help in policing our various communities. Yes, they may not have the arms that federal security agencies may have, but intelligence is all there is. Training is all there is. So that they will be more of having preventive, taking preventive action than, proactive action and preventive action than actions just to manage the situation. And that is part of it, is to give information, to collaborate and consult with security agencies to ensure that we police our communities. What did government further do? Government had to really ensure motivation of the security agencies by ensuring that the barracks, that is the headquarters of these security agencies, have social amenities, including water, including road, concrete pavement in each of the quarters, and also light, about not less than 10 solar light per even divisions. Now, the idea of the government is that with this, they can be motivated. And in addition to this, government is thinking about fencing all the divisions, headquarters or barracks of security agencies to really protect them, to really motivate them, to really police the various communities. This will do a lot, of course, with a charge given to the security agencies to ensure that they defend themselves legitimately in compliance with the rule of the game. That is ensuring that the rule of engagement is not breached. In doing this, they should do everything to defend themselves, to defend the public, to defend the citizenry.
All right, so maybe one final question for you before you go, sir, is the fact that, let's find out from you, especially as regards security and policing within your state. Is your governor in favor of state police and regional security outfits, especially that to boost the Southeast security?
The governor does favor and does recommend state police system. His idea is that when we get the people from the rural communities to be part of the security system, whether police and all of that, that it will help a lot in preventive policing. And again, on the issue of regional security system, he is very clear about that. We operate a federal system of government whereby individual states are autonomous, so to speak. They have only coordinating powers among states. And so there is no one regional head. So we don't operate regionalism, as it were. We operate presidential federal system of government, whereby powers are devolved between federal government and subordinating states, as it were. And so there is nothing like regional security.
Of course, but we understand that, but we know that you are very well aware of Amotekun that operates in the Southwest at the moment. And of course, they are state-based, but in terms of its spread, it covers the entire region, and that's what we mean there.
By the character and spirit of Amotekun, if I get it right, it is totally a state-based civilian security outfit. What happened is that the entire governors of Southwest came together by way of cooperation,
so what's the plan for Southeast?
To really say, yeah, that is being done under the Governors Forum. The idea and concept in the Governors Forum of Southeast is that they will have to be discussing, and they have commonality of laws, commonality of spirit and the letters of the laws of each state. But in all of this, the structure is still within the confines of every state, in line with the principle of federalism. And so anybody that is telling you is regional, there's nothing like regional security outfit at all. I can tell you that so far so good, despite some issues which are still investigating to know whether there is some hands of opposition and some hands of enemies of progress. Despite all of this, I can still say that Southeast is still having the safest environment in terms of security. I can tell you authoritatively. That goes to show that they are doing their best to police their various states.
All right, thank you very much. We've had the pleasure to speak with Uchenna Orji. He is the Commissioner for Information in Ebonyi State. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening, sir.
Thank you.
All right, and that's Democracy Today. We'll be back after this short break. Stay with us.
Did you know that AIT's social media handles have all changed? If you are one of the millions of our followers on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, this is introducing to you AIT's new official and rebranded social media handles. Like or follow us now on our Facebook page, Official AIT Live. If you're on Twitter, switch to our new handle at official AIT Live and activate the notification button to get breaking news and updates on the go. For exclusive short videos and photo news, follow our Instagram account at official AIT Live. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Official AIT Live, and enjoy live streaming of news and your favorite programs, where you can also watch our broadcast materials at your own convenience. Note that Official AIT Live is the only authentic social media profile name with all the handles on our website ait.live, with a notification prompt to accept and receive breaking news and updates on the go. Log on to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube platforms on your smartphone, tablet device, laptop, and desktop to follow us now. AIT.live. On air, online,
It's still Democracy Today. Time now to bring you an interview I had with a security expert on the proliferation of small arms and light weapons. Everyone, including President Buhari, has pointed to this as one of the issues fueling the security crisis, and of course, with the military and police repeatedly coming under attack with their weapons confiscated, it is imperative we prefer ways to nip the problem in the bud. And I have as guest Murtala Abdullahi, a climate and security researcher, as well as reporter with Human Angle. Hello, Murtala.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, let's begin this way. The United Nations says small arms and light weapons continue to be a primary cause of death in conflict and settings of pervasive crime. Activities by a multitude of actors, including terrorists, violent extremists, and criminal elements, are further complicating peace and sustainable development efforts and aggravating ongoing conflicts. Does this quote not just aptly capture the situation we currently have or currently face in Nigeria?
Well, it does says a lot on the current security crisis across Nigeria, from the creeks of the Niger Delta to the Sahara of northern Nigeria. It's quite a difficult situation for a lot of families, families in rural communities that have been displaced from their ancestral homes, families that can no longer earn a living and depend on aid from Good Samaritans and development agencies. This is a situation that is really alarming, and as you earlier stated, it's been amplified by the proliferation of small and light arms.
All right, go ahead, I can hear you.
Yeah, so as I was saying, as you stated earlier, this is a situation that has been aggravated by the proliferation of small and light arms across the country due to the porous nature of our borders. Earlier on, you mentioned the fact that the president complained about, despite the closure of the borders for some years, we still have arms proliferation. I think the president was probably not briefed that there's a difference between border closure and border security. Border closure does not mean border security, and I hope that going forward, the Nigerian government will invest in building the capacity and capability of security forces to provide adequate security across our borders. We are a country that is surrounded by other countries whether to Central Africa and to the Sahel, and then interconnected with the black markets for movement of arms. Internally, there are motivations and incentives for people to carry arms. Some people carry arms to perpetrate crime, to kill, to cause havoc, while some other people are carrying up arms to defend themselves in the absence of a strong law enforcement presence in their communities. And so we must tackle everything holistically, address the motivation for carrying up arms, and also secure our borders.
All right, yeah, so I agree with you on the need to address the motivations for why a lot of people are bearing arms. But, you know, as I mentioned earlier, a report says that over 350 million small arms and light weapons are already in circulation within Nigeria. That's even more than our population, and that is scary. But the worst part for me is that the report also says, look, those figures that may not be accurate, it could be more. Is this not alarming?
Well, I agree with you. Data is a huge problem in Nigeria. When data actually should help us guide our policies, from our national security policies to our developmental policies, but getting accurate data seems to be rocket science in Nigeria. Yeah, there's huge possibility that Nigeria could have more of those arms, but we shouldn't forget that Nigeria is not just only a destination for small and light arms. Nigeria is also a transit place for small and light arms because of its strategic location in terms of both geography and then interconnectivity with other regions of sub-Saharan Africa. So yeah, there are lots of arms in Nigeria, despite the strict guidelines around owning arms, and this is largely because there are lots of motivational factors for people to bear arms, and the borders are porous.
All right, so you also spoke about border security. Can we elaborate on that? Especially, I take, for example, that we have seen for the customs, sometimes come to the media to say we stopped one container there or two of illegal weapons being smuggled or being brought into the country. But many times Nigerians see those and say, look, for everyone that is arrested or that is stopped, 2 or 3 more would have made it past into the country, and that could be the problem. So how do you address this?
So exactly as you stated, it's quite, the moment such commodities get to your borders, it becomes a serious problem, and that's why border closure is multifaceted. One, it involves engagement via the intelligence services and also diplomatic officers with countries across the world, especially areas where you have seen signs that some of these weapons are coming from, because there's a manner in which you can trace the origin of a weapon. And so in terms of conversation, cooperation with countries where these weapons transit through, or countries where they originate for, so that Nigeria can be able to stop the movement of these arms to Nigeria. This is what happens in terms of transnational cooperation and security. And then the second one is actually ensuring that our border agents, because the custom is not just the only border security agency, there are lots of other security agencies that are across our border regions. And when the border closure was enforced last year, the Office of National Security has had this what we call a task force comprising multiple agencies that were enforcing that border closure. So it gives us an example of how our border security architecture can be, involving several agencies working together towards the same objective. And so it's about to ensure that those border agents are properly trained to identify contrabands and to be able to gather intelligence about contrabands, even when those contrabands are not in Nigeria. So if they are in another country heading towards Nigeria, having the ability of Nigerian intelligence services to pick that up and share such data with their partner country, and so that those weapons can be intercepted, and ensuring that those weapons and other contrabands do not cross through the border, even in areas where there are no manned positions. And so there are technologies that can be deployed, from manned area vehicles to long-range cameras to radar systems, to ensure that even areas where custom or border agents are not present, they have eyes and ears there, and they can rapidly deploy personnel to intercept whatever it is that is crossing over, either humans or moving in terms of moving contraband, which could range from economic commodities to firearms. And so, yeah, it's also very important to ensure that people don't have a reason to actually seek for firearms. As long as people have a reason to pick up firearms, they will continue to find a way to get those firearms. And we are seeing improvement in terms of local fabrication of firearms. We are seeing fabrication of firearms in modeled like the AK-47 by local blacksmith. We are seeing fabrication of pistols locally. So there's really, so you're seeing people trying to find local solutions to get access to these weapons. Because the foreign weapons are the military or standardized factory-produced weapons are more expensive, people are turning to local blacksmiths to still get these weapons, which means that even when you have a secured border, if you do not address the reasons why people want those firearms, then they'll continue to find a way either to get the standardized firearms or to fabricate these firearms locally.
All right, and you know that one of the challenges, especially with small arms and light weapons, is because they also have legitimate uses, especially for state actors and security agencies. So we can't say, like we do sometimes in Nigeria, say it's banned. You know, these weapons have to be available within the Nigerian space. But now the question becomes stringent controls. How effective has the government of Nigeria been in terms of playing its role for control?
So yeah, firearms control is very important. All our security agencies, based on the style of our security approach, depend heavily on firearms, and this is something that also needs to be addressed. We need to find ways to enforce security, law and order that does not require the use of firearms. The more firearms we have in the hands of our security forces, the more possibility of such firearms ending up in the hands of people who are not authorized to bear them, or actually getting people to also seek for such firearms. We have seen the police display weapons that have been recovered from some of these criminals. Some of these weapons are actually weapons that have been seized when security officers have been attacked. And so, yeah, we need to really remove the amount of firearms that are across the country. I understand this will be very difficult because of the nature of crime across Nigeria. It's very, very violent. You have lots of people with firearms, as you have illustrated, due to the huge quantity of firearms across the country. And so you have criminals having access to firearms, and so you need law enforcement officers to be able to protect themselves. But we need a holistic solution to this problem, and then we need to look towards having a long-term approach that reduces the amount of firearms that our law enforcement officers hold. We have seen incidents of accidental discharge, negligence discharge, and all other issues are surrounding the proliferation of firearms along our security officials. So yeah, we need to improve the regulation of firearms, ensuring that all firearms, the serial numbers are stored in a database, an electronic database, where a firearms can be traced. If it's acquired by the Nigerian state, it can be traced from its movement, from which agency to which official such a firearms was given. And firearms that have been seized from criminals or recovered from criminals should also be registered in an electronic database that allows government to trace the seizure of these firearms and also their destruction, and ensuring such a destruction is done in a transparent manner to avoid such firearms falling in the hands of people who do not have the authority to bear firearms. Our laws are very strict, but as we see, it's multi-dimensional, the solution towards addressing this issue of proliferation of firearms across the country that has led to killing of civilians and attacks on security forces.
All right, now there's something you mentioned which I want to follow up on, and if you want us to as well reduce the amount of arms and ammunition that even our law enforcement officers have to carry, and you also alluded to the fact that this situation exists because of the level of violent crimes that we have across the country. And now the question for you will be, you know, how then do we solve or resolve crisis or resolve conflicts, and taking into consideration the root causes of some of these ones, resolve crisis in those very volatile areas, those hot spots where small arms and light weapons are generally come into play?
So I think what we need to do now is, because the situation is already bad, we need to have different phases for how we approach the security crisis across the country. And the first one will be about stabilizing the various theater of conflict, and also various areas where there are huge security risks, either in terms of the urban areas or the rural areas. And so once we are able to stabilize such areas, the next phase will be towards adopting different approaches to law enforcement, overhauling the police technique, tactics, and procedure. And then really, we don't need firearms to solve a lot of the problems that we have. So for instance, we have an issue around gang violence in an urban community. There are lots of approaches that you can use to address gang violence without necessarily deploying extra more police officers with firearms. And so you can have governors establish sporting facilities for young people where they get to channel the adrenaline, their energy towards doing something that is much more productive, where they get also mentorship and also get to become something productive in life. Poor and low-income communities, schools can be established to reduce vulnerabilities of people joining armed groups. These are long-term solution. These are long-term solution to the security crisis that we have. And so there are a lot of non-kinetic approaches. Our prisons can also be places where restorative justice and social justice can be the theme, the guiding principle, so that people who pass through these facilities actually become better members of the society when they get out and do not just end up becoming hardened criminals. And we need to also see how we can really reduce the vulnerabilities of people joining that makes them easy or makes them vulnerable to joining armed groups. Provide education. Education is the key. Education is the only way where a young person from a poor background can become something productive in life. And so we need to invest a lot in education, invest in social support for young people, and also invest in integrating communities better, so that communities understand the diversity better and understand that there are other alternatives to addressing conflicts. We need to also improve our management of resources, because we have noticed that a lot of times conflicts across Nigeria are driven by resources, either livestock, either land, either water. So how do we improve the management of resources to ensure that these resources become useful commodity for people and do not become a source of agony, a source of bloodshed?
All right. You spoke earlier about local production and fabrication. And so that it means that even if we were to block off the extraneous factors, those that ship into the borders or those who have to pay for it, we're also saying that even amongst us, there are people who are getting proficient at producing and distributing these weapons. How do we also plug that loophole that's within the society as well?
So we have a long-standing culture where people fabricate firearms for different purposes, either hunting or ceremonial purposes. But we're seeing really more presence of improved firearms for the model towards either the AK-47 or small pistols that are not necessarily for hunting purposes. This is really disturbing. A lot of times police and the other security forces have displayed such kind of firearms. It's really involves, it's a multifaceted approach. First, blacksmiths need to be registered. Every blacksmith and his technique of fabricating firearms needs to be registered. And then such a blacksmith is known that this such is the ABCD fabricating firearm guns for ceremonial purpose or for hunting. So which means that anywhere their firearms is seen in the hands of criminals can be traced back to them. This will help to really deter them from providing their skills for criminal people. And secondly, really, as I mentioned earlier, some people are actually going after looking for firearms so that they can protect themselves. A lot of areas in Nigeria are ungoverned and unprotected, and so the people are actually actually trying to protect themselves, and they reach out to blacksmiths to get this firearm to protect themselves, sometimes against perpetrators of violence who use standardized or military-grade weapons. And so they only rely on these fabricated weapons to protect themselves. And recently we have seen some people trying to encourage vigilante groups in the south, in the northeast, in the northwest. We already have a vigilante service as GTF in the northeast, but in the northwest we're seeing growth of this group because communities feel they are left vulnerable, they are left without protection. And so these are some of the things that also drive the acquisition of firearms by people. People want to defend themselves. And so we need to really strengthen law enforcement. We need to reform our police, ensure that our police are able to be present in communities, especially vulnerable communities. And the police are also able to protect themselves, because it's not just about deploying the police, but are the police officers able to protect themselves? Do they have the skills and the techniques they need? Do they have the equipment they need? Do they have the condition of service favorable for them? Because we cannot just send police officers and expose them to dangers. We must ensure that they have what they need to carry out the mandate that they have been given. So really, we need to strengthen law enforcement in our rural communities, ensure that there are no ungoverned and unprotected spaces across Nigeria. We need to strengthen our criminal justice system. When people see that justice is being delivered, they will have no reason to go and look for firearms. And also it serves as a deterrent for people who want to go and look for firearms to perpetrate crime.
All right, thank you for being part of the program tonight. Democracy Today will be back 10 p.m. on Sunday. My name is Usaiti Yari. Have a blessed night.